Do you know how many fucking girls there are that were on the cover of Playboy that dated Derek Jeter that speak three languages that are fucking dressed in amazing, amazing clothes and have their own money and are really intelligent and and you know how many girls are there like that? Not very fucking many. Yeah. So
Right.
you can't run in a club and filter her out and go grab the next one. Like I'm gonna filter through 10 of those to find the one that wants to stay in LA.
Right.
So it's not that you get all in your head and act like a pussy and take no risks. Because what did I say? You still need to play to win. You never play not to lose. I don't care how fucking hot she is. Because just the act of acting like that will make you lose.
Right.
But you are going to look for more features where you're like, look, I'm going to slow it down because here's the deal. With that girl, you're going to go like this. If something miracle happens and she did bite on all my sexual hoops and bit on all this stuff, and she was down for staying that late, then I'd be like all over it. But I have to assume because she has so much abundance with men, she's probably already sleeping with one or two really high value guys, and doesn't really need the validation of a sexual encounter from a club, from a stranger, put herself at risk, her career at risk, her everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So because of that, she's probably a little more. She's not as susceptible or as open to do those types of things. Not because she's so high value you can't have her. No, it's just that you're like, okay. And because of that, because she is a girl that I would like to see again, I'm not going to be a pussy and get all in my head. I'm just going to slow it down a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm going to focus. What's my emphasis more on? Qualification, comfort, connection, with attraction spikes built in, of course. But I want her to remember me, and I want her to be like, that's a guy that's different than other guys. I'd like to see him again. Not just that he's this sexual guy that pushes the boundaries and tries to fuck me.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep, definitely.
You can see why if you did a full year of cold approach with nothing but same night lay game all the time, you would groom some habits. Your default setting would be it'd be hard for you to go. You'd be so used to like going for broke that you'd almost forget how to like chill and be cool and relax and build a fucking deep, powerful connection and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
So when you're developing this skill set, like, does that mean you're going out on different occasions, being like, tonight I'm going to do SNL game versus tonight I'm going to get to know people game?
At your age, yeah.
Okay.
But at my age, now that once I've internalized it, it's kind of what mood I'm in, you know. I mean, listen. One thing I want to really clarify here: you guys that are young, like I know the caliber of girls that that Jake's going for and stuff like that. So some of you guys, when I was younger, okay, what I consider a 10 now, after living in Hollywood for 4 years and all that kind of shit, is a lot different than what I considered a 10 when I was 24 living in Oklahoma. So a lot of you guys are picturing Sarah in your head, and you're going, oh, Sarah, she's so beautiful. She's like that girl Nick's talking about. She would never have a same night. She would never go home with a guy on the first night. She's so pretty. Dude, that girl in your head right now, you might be saying that. She's probably a fucking 7. And some other dude, if she was in Vegas, like Jake would walk up and fucking bring the heat on her ass, and she'd act just like we'd be like, yeah, she's a classic girl that would go home with a dude. What do you mean? Not because she's a whore, but just because, like, don't put girls on a pedestal. I don't want to create a bad belief here with 10 games. Sometimes I'm almost hesitant to teach it like that, but I do want to speak to you fucking high-level guys that have taken this shit to a really high level in your life, and you're like, no, I get that. I date really hot girls, and you don't press up on them quite as hard every time. Some of them you can, and a lot of them you can't because they know their worth. And that doesn't mean they don't fuck on the first date or that they are that classy girl I'm talking about right here. There is some dude out there that she'd sleep with on date 2, probably Derek Jeter. You know what I mean? Like, it happens. They're all down for it. It's just that you have to respect their reality a little bit more than you would. But anyway, like I said, I don't want you to develop a bad belief where you're like, oh, the fucking hot girl you're picturing from a small town in Idaho is maybe what I'm talking about, but probably not. All right, so calm down. But that being said, because I remember when I was 20, the reason I say that I'm not making fun of you is that when I was 18, 19 years old, my first girlfriend, I was like, oh my God, she's the prettiest girl in the world. Nobody would, I need to be my best self around her all the time and I wouldn't tease her very hard, and I wouldn't take any risks because I was like, what if she thinks I'm one of those guys, and da da da. I built her up on such a pedestal that was not real that she couldn't be attracted to me for a long time because I was just such a douche, you know. Versus a lot of other guys in her social circles, football players and other cool dudes, or didn't see her like that. They just treated her like a normal chick and teased the fuck out of her and ignored her and made her chase and chased her and made her chase and just did the normal shit, you know. So I started to go on a tangent there. I just want to clarify that because I think, guys, I don't want anybody developing a bad belief like 10 game, she's hot, I must run 10 game now. Not necessarily. I mean, dude, some of the hottest girls I've ever dated was me walking up in the bar, fucking grabbing them by the arm, telling them they're gorgeous, and then bringing the fucking heat, going crazy. That's like I would say that later. Then again, there's some girls that are, like I said, cover Playboy chick where I could tell if I'd have played it like that, she'd have been like, nah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just that, like saying that late game has, if you don't do it really well, and it takes a long time to get it down, is you can start going into player mode big time if you don't, and you won't even know it because you don't. It's hard to observe it in yourself. And a high level girl won't tell you. She'll just be very polite and dismiss you. And she's like, "That's not husband material. That's not the type of dude I want on my arm. I would never trust him. He's a fucking scumbag."
Got it.
Does that make sense, guys? Like, does that make sense to you too?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but with that being said, I think you should kind of practice. It depends on what you want. I mean, a lot of guys just want a girlfriend. I still think even if you want a girlfriend, I'm not saying you need to go sleep with a bunch of chicks. I still think you should take some time and go practice staying that late game, even if that just means pulling them to the door and going, "Oh, I got to go home and work." I mean, just because there's a lot of cool calibration you learn that you can't learn any other way. Like, you can't learn boundaries that you, and because even with those girls, that's 9 and 10 girls that are like, "Oh, she's classy." You don't do that with her. There will be a time on date 3 or somewhere down the line when she is ready for that, and if you don't know how to do it, it sucks because she might even still date you, but you could have unlocked a wild side in her and a fun side in her that would make her really fucking like hooked hard and really care about you and really excited to be with you. Like I think for me personally, the older I get, is that you want to create the whole package guy, like where you're like, yeah, I know when to be really sexual, and I know when to fucking to take you and be masculine and dominant, and I know when to tease the fuck out of you. I also know when to be chivalrous, and I also know when to spend money, and I also know when not to spend money, and I also know when to fucking be crazy guy around your friends, and I also know when to shut the fuck up and be more stoic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And remember, when you're doing cold approach, girls they don't know all those sides. Like, they only see the side you present. So if you go hardcore scumbag, stay not lay guy, just realize, like, that's the image you created, and that's, if she doesn't bite on that, then it's not easy to recover from. Versus if you run 9 and 10 game, like, a little slower and more qualification, more comfort, that doesn't mean you don't have those other sides, but you've set the frame of a definitely strong, good. Okay, at minimum, he's got good character. He's interesting. We talked about we have a deep connection. We found a lot of commonalities. Like, he made me feel good. You can always bring out the sexual crazy side later.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I wouldn't sprinkle it in. God, I hate teaching this shit because guys are going to jump from one end of the spectrum to the other. They're going to be like, "Oh, well, I want 9 to 10, so now I'm qualifying and building comfort, and I don't tease, and I don't go sexual, and blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying either. See how frustrating it is to teach some of these principles? Because you're like,
Yeah, definitely.
don't say it just right. Then, because I know when I was listening to stuff back in the day, I got a lot of bad beliefs because guys wouldn't go into detail. They just leave it hanging and be like, "Oh, well, with 9 to 10s, you can't go so sexual." So I'd get fuck. So I just wouldn't go sexual. Not true, but it's just about calibration. As to where, like I said, it's like, it'd be like if you were playing. I'd say same night late game to me would be like playing your PlayStation and you're playing Call of Duty, and there's nothing to lose. Like you know, at the end of the hour you're turning it off anyway, and you don't really care. Versus 9 and 10 game where you're like in a tournament where you're like, you know what, I want to win this fucking tournament. So maybe I won't just rush the fort blindly with a knife and try to kill him with a knife just to see if I can do it.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Next fucking question.